All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of the Remarkable Coach podcast. As always, I'm your host, Michael Pacheco, and today with me I have Jesmine Onyeukwu. Jesmine here is a business consultant and leadership coach. She's the founder, CEO, and lead consultant at PeakPerfly. Jesmine has served over 10,000 professionals, entrepreneurs, startup leaders, and business executives across the world. She's been successful in guiding leaders across the world away from burnout and towards fulfillment. Jesmine, welcome to the Remarkable Coach.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael.
Thank you so much for making time to join us here. As always, I like to just kind of kick off the podcast by inviting our guests to tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do in your own words.
Thank you so much. I mean, that was a great capture of what I do in summary, but I just want to add flesh to the last part.
Please.
The part you talked about that I help leaders find their way from burnout towards fulfillment. My clients fondly call me the life harmonist. It's the nickname that my clients have given me just because I am very committed. I believe I have a mission to help those people anyone who leads, anyone who's been called to leadership. I am called to help them find fulfillment because leadership is difficult. It is challenging. It's a lot of responsibility. And we see leaders over and over again tending towards burnout and overwhelm. So I am the person who helps them navigate their path towards more flourishing, peak performing teams, thriving businesses, and ultimately fulfillment, because that's what they should have.
I love it. And how do you do that? Can you talk a little bit about how you do that? How do you help them navigate that path toward their whatever fulfillment means for them?
Absolutely. There's a lot of mechanisms in place. There's a lot of modalities that we use because at this point, I work with people who lead a business, especially early stage businesses. We have a pathway. We take them through the pathway because oftentimes when people jump into entrepreneurship, they just go into building a business plan, understanding how to make sales and all of that. While those are great, they need to, first of all, figure themselves out. They need to understand their talent, what they're called to do, their purpose. They need to have their own sense of meaning in the world before they can make sales or before they can optimize their team and all of that. So there's a pathway we use to guide them from figuring out who they are, the self piece, before we go into your business plan, business modeling, and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit more about who your clients are specifically? Like, who's your ideal client?
So at PeakPerfly now, we serve executive leaders, anyone who occupies a C-suite position in an early stage business, so startup and scale up. We can serve anybody. We can serve any business leader, but we just target those people because we know they have peculiar challenges. And our ideal client is a CEO, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, a Chief Human Resource Officer, and a Chief Operations Officer. So these are the four key ideal customer personas that we love to serve here at PeakPerfly.
That's awesome. And how do you get your clients? How do you market yourself to those avatars?
Right now, we're trying to do more of digital marketing. But prior to now, I do a lot of networking events. Most of my clients have come from word of mouth. So the people I've served, talking to some other person to say, oh, try Jesmine, she'll help you clarify this aspect of your business. So prior to now, I've done a lot of networking and word of mouth and personal contacts and personal relationships. But we're hoping to, because we've proven the process, we've validated our solutions, and we're trying to scale the solution now and productize consulting. And we're going to be deploying a lot of digital marketing strategies in the couple from the last quarter of 2022 upwards.
Right on. And what was the catalyst for that shift in strategy?
The catalyst was the need to serve more people. Because at the end of the day, if you have a good product, you built a technology, you've built a solution that really works, and over time, you have people saying this works. I've worked with even entrepreneurship development systems here, entrepreneurship development platforms. I've worked with innovation hubs here in Canada, and founders and venture leaders say, Jesmine, this works. So what I started discussing with my team was, how do we scale this? How do we make this kind of support accessible to as many early stage leaders as possible? And the only way to do that is to leverage technology. So what we've done is to package most of the consulting and coaching solutions that we have into courses, templates, playbooks, guides, cheat sheets and all of that into resources that most entrepreneurs can find on demand. They can get access to on demand. So from Q4 2022, we're launching that so that we scale, we reach more people, the business grows. So that was the shift.
Yeah, awesome. That tracks. So you guys you're gonna build out an ad funnel that kind of brings leads in that way. And
absolutely, I'm working with someone on my team for that right now.
That's great. What are your target platforms? Are you looking primarily at LinkedIn, or are you looking at YouTube maybe?
Mostly LinkedIn at this point, and Facebook/Instagram.
Okay.
What that? Yeah.
Right on. Nice. What is a typical engagement with you look like for a client? Do they work with you on a monthly retainer? Do you have like a 3-month or a 6-month package, that kind of thing?
That's also one of the things we've put together at this point. Prior to now, they would work on a coaching package, and the coaching package could be maybe 5 coaching sessions, 10 coaching sessions. And once we're done with the package, they just go about their business. But I find that most of the time, the clients who come back to me have worked with me before. So they would finish the 10 coaching sessions and they would go about their business, and they will come back in like 3 months and say, Jesmine, I need more support. I need more help. I couldn't figure it out on my own. For that reason, because that was a little easier for me. I'm a mom. I have a very young family. I have 3 children. So I couldn't really take on long-term engagements because you never know, life happens. So it was safer for me to do those packages. But we're trying to do a retainership model now from next year, where a client onboards with us, they can trust that they have a consultant from our team constantly working on their case on a monthly retainership basis.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What's your can you talk a little bit more about you mentioned you guys use a lot of different modalities and different frameworks for the work that you do. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe some of the tactical ways that you guys kind of initiate your work?
So there are two main proprietary solutions that we leverage. But within those 2 proprietary solutions, we have tons and tons of frameworks, of models, but I'm just going to give a brief overview of one of them. So we have the learning pathway. Michael, you would agree with me that if you want to build a business in these times, you have to be engaging with content, with information, with data. This is what's going to guarantee that you stay on top of trends, you make the right decisions. So that's something that most leaders don't understand. They just engage with content. However, they don't even know what they need to learn. So sometimes they come to me and they say, Jesmine, I have people on my team who are telling me to watch this video or read this report or get access to this article, and it's just too much. I'm overwhelmed. So the learning pathway streamlines the learning curve for our leaders. So we tell them what they need to learn. First of all, you need to learn about yourself, like I said earlier. Then you need to learn about how the different actions to take in your business. And there's 4 pillars within the actions to take. And you need to have a playbook on all the actions so that you can track your progress and also commit to continuous improvement. So it gets complicated because that's what consulting is, just taking complex issues and making them simple. So when I'm saying it like this, I'm giving high level overview, but on the inside, on the back end, it is really complex, but we just break it down for our clients with, the pathway, and we give them frameworks at every point in time to make decisions better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So I have, my background is in marketing consulting. And I've done go-to-market projects with like Johnson & Johnson. I did some marketing with Golden Globes. So I totally get what you're saying about, you want to help guide the client to whatever resolution they're looking for. And it's not always as easy as just doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know more about, I'm not sure how closely guarded the proprietary methodology of the learning pathway is, but would you tell us more about that? Like, what's the hierarchy of things that they need to learn, right? You mentioned maybe you start with the self and you get a little bit of self-awareness, and then where do you go from there?
Sure. So within the learning pathway, we have what we call the 3 key disciplines of the learning pathway. We have the discovery piece. And the discovery piece is mostly about collecting data on a person. So there's what we call neurodata. Neurodata helps manage teams. It helps ensure that talents are optimized for success. So we encourage leaders to collect neural data on yourself. How do you think? Everybody has a unique neural wiring. So the way that your brain works is different from the way my brain works, and the way Kevin's brain works, and every other person's brain. So we have different brain types, different brain designs, and you know that we live in a world where people are overwhelmed with work. Sure. I don't know if you've heard about the great resignation, the great attrition, the great overwhelm, the great everything. And people people are yearning for satisfaction at work. And one of the ways that they can do that is to understand their natural domain. How do they really work? I have 3 children. I often give this example. I have 3 children, and Michael, it would amaze you that they all have different personalities. My last daughter, she's the communicator, she's the storyteller, she hijacks people's conversations, she wants to tell stories. My first daughter, who's my second child, she's a nurturer, she cares. She's always asking, how you doing? Mommy, can I help you figure this out? My son, who's the oldest, he's very critical. Every time you're telling him something, he's questioning, he's excessively questioning and analyzing what you're saying. So you can see that I have 3 different types of performers in my home. Yeah. And they need to go into the workplace knowing how they naturally perform so that they can make the most of every task and every action they're taking. So it gets really complex when we start to break it down. So within the disciplines, we have discovery. Within discovery, we have this collecting neural data. Then we have other types of analysis that leaders need to do on themselves and help their team members to do as well, so they can make the most of their business and their performance.
Why is it important to start with self-awareness and understanding yourself and collecting that neural data and analyzing that? Why is that important?
Great question. Great question. Before now, in previous industries, you know how humans worked. So humans were more or less treated like machines. They just gave you an assignment, you had to turn on, with the era of specialization, thanks to Adam Smith, people just went to factories to turn out work. That worked in the previous industrial revolutions. In today's world, we are tapping into human intelligence. We're no longer treating humans as machines. We're treating humans as the talent required to create value. For that reason, that's why people are burning out. They're like, I don't know, I suck at this job. I hate this job. I hate my boss. I hate everything. The reason is they haven't found the job that aligned with them, with their person, with their own purpose, and a host of other factors. So because of the times we're in the 4th industrial revolution, with Web 3.0, and with all the changes happening in our world, people need to find who they are so they can create value from their humanity, because your human value is what's going to drive productivity in today's world. I mean, it's what is called the productivity paradox. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it is where organizations are saying, oh, we're deploying technology, we're getting tools, we're spending money getting softwares, but our people are not any productive. They're not any, like, the level of productivity has not improved despite the spending on technology. So it was raising a confusion. What is really going on? If technology isn't powering productivity, what can power productivity? And the only way that we can power productivity in today's world is to tap into the human being. And the humans have to understand themselves to be able to create value from the inside.
Yeah. That's great. Can I ask you? I want to ask a philosophical question. Why do you think that people don't already understand themselves better? Is that a function? You name dropped Adam Smith earlier, and that's brilliant. Do you think that's a product of the modern times, that people are always busy with something, that keep themselves busy with scrolling social media, and is that part of that, or what is your take on that?
It is part of that, because as a society in general, we weren't wired to be human focused. We were wired to be systems focused. So you have political systems, you have religious systems, you have communal systems. Before now, so you know how humans have evolved. We went from being cavemen to exploring technology to this is how we've advanced as humans. So the more that we advance, there is a need on us to tap inwards. This is why spirituality became such a big concept in the couple of years ago. People were doing a lot of self-work, meditation, trying to figure themselves out, because as times change, as we advance technologically, we have to go back to being humans. We have to get rid of the way that we've we functioned. We just went to work to earn a living, to put money in our pockets. Now we have to go to work to do work that has connects to our own sense of meaning and being. So I would say that we were not naturally wired to look inwards. We were wired to look outside, figure out, the job that's lucrative, what's the society saying about jobs that you should take. But now we're done with that. We tried it didn't really work. So we want to look inwards and have our own inner compass that would guide the decisions we're making.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a question.
I love it. No, that's great. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I love this kind of these kind of conversations. But I want to circle back to your coaching and consulting. You mentioned in kind of the application to be on this podcast, you mentioned that you had improved a client's well-being and flourishing by 85%. What does that mean, and how do you measure that?
I kind of knew you were going to ask me that question, because every time I say stuff like that, people question it. Mm-hmm. It's easier to have metrics for tangible. So when you say revenue, profit, but when you're talking about well-being, when you're talking about team engagement, people find it hard to measure things like that. So what we do at PeakPerfly is we take the qualitative data and we translate it into quantitative data. And there are ways to do that. So when this client first onboarded with us, we use the survey. We use polls, we use surveys, we use questionnaires. So we asked her, we surveyed her across different areas of life. That's what we call the life harmony wheel. It is 6. It is like life divided into 6 components. So we asked her questions about each component. How do you feel here? How are you thriving here? How are you flourishing here? And at the end of the day, we realized that she was able to answer a good, confident yes for less than 25% of those areas.
Okay.
So after the coaching piece, after we worked with her, we gave her tools and resources. She had access to our courses, our templates. We redid the survey, and this was like 4 or 5 months afterwards.
Yeah.
We did the survey, and we realized that she had boosted her level of understanding of flourishing along those areas. So it's just about looking for quantitative things, asking the questions, and then collecting the qualitative data from those kinds of engagement. So after the coaching, she was able to say, oh my God, I'm flourishing here now. I have more clarity here. My relationships are better. Yeah. I find a little more fulfillment at work. And it's still a progress, right? So we haven't surveyed this client since then. I'm guessing that if we had kept up the work with her, we could possibly have gotten her to a 95 or even 100%.
Wow. Awesome. So those surveys, are those, it sounds like, those are yes or no questions? You don't do maybe a scale of 1 to 5 or something like that?
No, there's a scaling system. Sometimes we use 4, 5, or even sometimes we go to 10. Yeah. Depending on the complexity of the situation. But for this particular client, we use the 5-point scaling system. On a scale of 1 to 5, how do you feel about this area? And it's not just one question. So it's a couple of questions within those 6 points. Yeah.
So that makes sense then, because you're taking, like you said, you're taking this qualitative data of how someone feels, and then you're giving it a number. You're assigning it a number, which you can then make qualitative. Fascinating. Good stuff. I love it. What are the 6 components of the harmony wheel?
So we have first of all, we have health, which is physical health. Which is we ask everybody to prioritize that, because if you don't have health, everything else falls apart. So we have health, then we go right into work, just because we spend about 1/3 of our lives at work. So work should come right after health. After work, we have the mental aspect, which is your psychology and your emotions. That's the 3rd one. Then after that, we have relationships, which again is very important to the human being. Then we have finance. And what we often tell our clients is, if your work is good, you'll be able to create value. And when you're creating value, you will improve your economy. So that's the 5th one is the finance, which is their economy. Then the last one is their lifestyle. Because sometimes you see that clients have good health, their mindset is on point, their finances are doing amazing, work is great, but their lifestyle kind of sucks. They don't have time to relax. They don't have time to recreate. They don't have time to add some more comfort and finesse in their life. So those are the 6 components of the harmony wheel, the life harmony wheel.
Very cool. And I suppose that's why you are referred to as the life harmonizer.
Oh, you got it now. You caught it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. What what sort of things did you first struggle with when you first started consulting?
Oh my God, Michael, that question. I struggled a long time with even calling myself a consultant and coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because prior to stepping into this realm of work, I had worked with a ton of consultants and coaches, and a lot of them were amazing. But the struggle that I found was because the landscape just became more and more complex, right? So I've had clients who said to me, Jesmine, I've worked with a ton of coaches, but I still didn't find the result I was looking for. It's because of the complexity. So what I struggled with the most was the complexity of the landscape. What do I call myself? Do I call myself a marketing coach? Because what part of what I do for my clients include helping them figure out their marketing sales. Do I call myself a mindset coach? Do I call myself a leadership consultant? What exactly? So my biggest struggle was in really decomplexifying. I don't know if that's a word.
I love it. It's a word now. You just made it up. I love it.
Okay, but just simplifying the complex landscape so that I could have a framework that helps people get results better, faster, and that can results that are lasting. That was my biggest struggle. So I spent like 4 years doing research and building frameworks and roadmaps so that when I stepped in there and said, when I step into the marketplace and say I am a consultant, when someone hires me, I just make their life better. There's no point hiring me if I'm going to add more complexity or complications to your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my biggest struggle was the complexity of the space.
I'm curious to know, so you refer to yourself as a consultant primarily, not a coach.
I do. Okay, go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I do both because what I tell people is if you are a consultant, you are operating at the highest level of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
We have this ladder, expertise ladder. The consulting is the topmost. This is why even when you go to the medical field, when you go to the legal field, when someone is called a consultant, they are expected to have the most expertise in that particular field of study. Under that, just right under consulting is coaching. With coaching, you're working with someone. As a coach, you can guide, you can manage a team. As a matter of fact, all managers need to have coaching skills because as a coach, you can help people do it. As a consultant, you provide strategies that help the coaches and managers help people do it. So as a consultant, you're a coach automatically. You decide how you want to function. Do you want to be the one who's doing the strategies, the research, and doing the briefs, or do you want to work with the people?
Yeah.
But you can be a coach and not be a consultant. But as a consultant, you are already a coach.
That's interesting. So we've had this discussion a number of times on this podcast before, and I feel like the most common, I like your definition, but I feel like a different definition that seems to be more common among coaches specifically is the delineation lies in telling someone or telling a company what to do as a consultant versus a coach. You're not using statements as much as you're asking questions and using guiding questions to help guide someone to an answer on their own, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Totally in alignment with what I just explained. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. I'm curious, what's your background?
I studied economics and education.
Okay. Hence Adam Smith.
Sorry, come again.
Hence, that would be why you know Adam Smith.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's how. So I studied economics and education. And when I did education, I touched on psychology. As a matter of fact, I did a lot of psychology courses. Okay. But right after university, I had a stint in insurance. I was an insurance broker for a bit. Then I worked with the government before I decided to toe the path of entrepreneurship.
Nice. Why did you make that shift? Was you felt a calling, or was there a specific reason?
Yeah, there were two reasons. So there was the calling aspect, and there was the lifestyle issues. At a point as an insurance broker, I got married as an insurance broker. I was pregnant with my first child. My husband worked in the bank at the time, so the banking work. We lived in Nigeria. It was very demanding. So you had to go out, you had to leave for work early, you had to come back late. In fact, all financial sectors in Nigeria are wired like that. They're very demanding. So when I got pregnant, towards the 6th month of my pregnancy, my boss at the insurance brokerage was not going to give me any concessions as a
Mhm.
pregnant woman. So my husband and I sat down and said, okay, you don't want to, continue this way. You want to start figuring out what to do with your life, because if this child comes, you're not going to be doing this crazy type of schedule. So that's
Yeah.
how I made a decision. I now sat down and did like the soul searching to figure out what I was naturally called to do. And I didn't start out as a consultant and coach though.
Okay.
I started out organizing people's homes. I researched in Nigeria at the time, and I saw no one was helping people get organized. And I used to watch like Clean House and the shows like Peter Walsh, who would organize people and create structure in their spaces. I fell in love with that. So that's how I started Nigeria's first residential organizing company.
Very cool. I think, I mean, I can draw that line, right? Because being organized at home is kind of a foundation to being organized and successful and feeling, just flourishing in life.
Sure.
Which is why I have my camera here focused specifically down here, so you can't see the mess on my desk over here.
I get that a lot. You're spot on, because at the end of the day, it's the same principles that apply. Whether you're organizing a physical space or a mental space, you're still going to apply the same principles. Yeah.
I've also got my daughter's toys all over my office.
That's not clutter. That's lovely. That's life. It is cute. I love the colors. Yeah.
Just push them off screen for the podcast usually.
You didn't have to because I did that.
Awesome. So Jesmine, I mentioned earlier about your improving a client's well-being and flourishing by 85%. Tell us about some other big wins that you've had.
Michael, are you there? I kind of lost you for a second.
Uh-oh. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my internet is doing funny things. I live off grid in the Washington State Cascade Mountains, and so sometimes internet comes and goes out here. So what I had asked is, we talked briefly before about your client that you improved their well-being and flourishing by 85%. Can you tell us about some other big wins that you've had?
We had worked with an entrepreneurship development platform here in Canada who works with, of course, startups, early stage companies. And I worked with them in helping the startup founders clarify their market, because sometimes it's difficult to really know who your ideal customer is, to define your value proposition, because at the end of the day, that's what you're going to sell. People just jump into spending money on marketing, but they don't have those other pieces in place. So we helped them clarify their market, clearly articulate their value proposition, and we prepare them to pitch, because then when you have your ideal customer figured out, you have your value prop figured out, you can tell stories better. So we help them build storytelling around the problem, the customer, the value prop. For example, a value prop could be, I help my clients save 40% of the time they would typically spend doing a task. So if I save them 2 hours every day, that's a major value prop. Or I save them 90% of the working with competitors. So we help them do all of this. Like, you have to be clear, there has to be value. And with that, I worked with about 5 clients on the program, and there were a ton of other coaches and mentors and a ton of other founders, but I was assigned 5 founders. And at the end of the day, 90% of my mentees won grants. They all won the grants from the government, because at the end of the day, the panelists, the feedback that came was they were very clear on their market. The vision was clear. They were able to sell to. So these are some of the things we do for startups, and we do for early stage companies to get clarity of all these pieces, so they can go out there in confidence and sell the vision.
Sell. That's great. That's awesome. So are you willing to tell us about some failures that you've had? So maybe some learning points where things didn't go quite as planned and you walked away a better consultant because of it.
So right after I had worked with these mentees and they had won their grants, I went to pitch for some money and I couldn't get the money. So you see the irony. I had helped people get money and I couldn't get money myself, because the panelists they gave me great feedback. And these were the feedback they gave me weren't things I took into account when I coached my clients. So I took that feedback and I've added it to my playbook. When you're pitching, you have to have a breakdown of the funds. If you're asking for a particular fund, if you're asking for $100,000, for example, you need to tell the investors how you're going to spend that money and how you hope to get a return on what is spent. I didn't have that clearly figured out before going to pitch. Of course, I was pitching at a higher level and for more money. So that's one of the ways I failed a million and one. I've failed a couple times, but every time I fail, I've learned to find the lessons in the failures. There's never, every time I get a no, a rejection, I've, pitched to a client where the engagement was for about 4 months. It was a big client. And I was almost certain that they were going to onboard my company to work with their team. And at the end of the day, they said, we're sorry, we found someone who was a better fit. So I often go back and look at the whole process and what I did, what I didn't do right. And I always ask whoever is telling me, sorry, it's not going to work, please tell me where I could have done it better. Sometimes they'll be like, Jesmine, you were fantastic. You did everything right. We don't have any feedback whatsoever. But at this point, it's just not the right time. Maybe at some time in the future.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could go on and on, but there are many, many times that I didn't. Yeah. I didn't get what I wanted.
Just keep talking about how you screwed up now.
Yeah, it's good to be open and talk about those. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can oftentimes you learn more from the failures, right? Because when you win every time, you're not really learning, you're just doing what you do. But when you fail, you can adjust course a little bit and then go a little bit further the next time. So there's growth in failure if you're paying attention to it.
Yeah. And someone said something that was profound to me. She said, humans don't fail. Human actions fail. So your actions might have failed. The approach you use to address that situation might have failed, but you as a human being, you don't fail. Your attempts at that exam might have failed. The attempts, the engagement with that examination might have been a wrong one, but you as a human being, human beings don't fail. We fail when we exit. Like we fail if life, I don't even know how to put it, but if we give up on life, then that's when we actually fail. But as long as we have life and hope, our actions and attempts and engagements might fail, but not
totally. Yeah, and I think that's important for every entrepreneur to learn, because you have to be able to separate yourself from your business and your failures, and right, because those are actions. They're part of who you are, perhaps, but it's not who you are.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's an important lesson for entrepreneurs for sure. I had something else I wanted to bring up and I can't remember what it was.
Talking about failure, let me just throw in something.
Yeah.
Let me quickly throw in something. So when you look at a heart rate monitor and you have the peaks and dips and you have those ups and down flow, that's just significant that this person has life. The moment there's a flat line, life is gone. Right. So that's the same thing we fail, we rise, we fall, we get up. That's just what life is about. If we don't have those ups and downs, then we need to question whether we're really living.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have to have perspective, right? If you're always up or if you're always down, there's no perspective and you're flatlined.
Yeah, totally flatlined. Yeah.
Good metaphor. What recommendations, Jesmine, do you have for new coaches?
For new coaches, I would say working with humans is difficult. That's why you hear many people. There was a time when people were just coming for coaches, like they were criticizing coaches, they were saying negative things about the coaching industry. Yep. And you will hear psychiatrists or people who are so regulated, say, oh yeah, you chose to work with these unregulated folks, so you're going to get what you asked for. And so for that reason, what I would say to anybody who's coming into coaching is, first of all, you need to have a passion for people. And you need to really master how to solve problems, because humans are complex. For that reason, humans create complex problems. If a client comes to you and they say, for example, I need help with my customer onboarding process, and maybe you're a customer experience coach. You need to understand that in order to help them with that customer onboarding process, you need to understand how to do marketing. You need to understand human resource. There are other components that surround that particular area of your coaching. And this is for extremely niched down coaches, because you have a lot of coaches who are extremely niched down. In order to solve the client's problem, you have to have some sort of wide approach to your skills and to your knowledge. You can niche down and focus on a narrow area, but you need to have a wider perspective. Your expertise has to be both wide and deep for you to help your clients better. And for me, there are many times clients come to me. For example, I'm not a financial expert. I would never prefer financial advice, but I have someone who is in my network, who's on she's actually one of our experts in residence, who I would say to my clients, I have a financial consultant who can help you address this. So in the area where you can't help your clients, always have someone you can recommend for them. Because at the end of the day, your job is to help them just achieve the results however you can.
Yeah, and building relationships that way, being able to refer someone, the next time they may not need your services today, but if they remember you as the person who referred them to someone who helped them, in 6 months, in 2 years, when they need what you're selling, they're going to come back to you because you've fostered that relationship.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But you also need to verify who you're recommending to your clients so that you don't get burned. I've been burned before. Like the client came and said, Jesmine, why would you refer someone like that? She was nothing. Her customer service was crappy. She was unfriendly. So I started to verify and validate the people that I would put on my list of recommendations for my client.
Sure.
It would tell on me at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's super smart. So you've done some marketing as well. Yes. Do you also see the value? And this is not a loaded question. This is a genuine question. So you mentioned broad and deep. Do you also see a value for new coaches, especially, to niche down so that they can maybe get a footing into the business before they broaden out? Or do you recommend really truly that they just broaden out right from the beginning?
I would say you have to niche down. When I first started consulting and coaching, I branded myself as a leadership coach. So I would do a lot of things on leadership. This is where the self-awareness piece. But now I'm a business consultant, meaning I can consult in a broad area of business solutions or problems. So I would say start with a niche. Like they say, the riches are in the niche. Start with a niche, but never stay in the niche because of the way that the world is right now. There's hyper specialization going on, but you can stand yourself out really smartly if you are the niched down coach who has a broad expertise. Your client will trust you more. Your trust levels will increase if you can do that. But definitely start with that niching down first.
Yeah, I know a coach who specializes in she helps physical therapists establish an online practice. And that's her coaching. She helps physical therapists establish an online practice, and she charges $15,000 for her course. And it sells like hotcakes. And that's I feel like that's a pretty tight niche. So if you can find, there's demand in all sorts of things. And the more you can focus and hone in on what you do, on what what is your core competency? What are you very, very good at? Focus on that and find the customer that wants to buy what you've packaged.
Yeah.
That's a great way, I think, for a new coach to get a foothold.
Can I say something to that point?
Please.
There are many ways to niche down. So you can niche down, like this client you mentioned, her niche is based on a market, based on a specific target audience, not based on an expertise. So as a coach that helps physical trainers or find their footing online, she has to know how to do web management. She has to know how to do social media, because this is all digital. Online is digital. You're going to help your clients set up their entire operations online. So you're going to have a broad array of expertise. So you can niche down by expertise by saying, for example, I am a communications coach. Or you can say, I am a communications coach for medical professionals so there are many ways to niche. There's no one way to niche down. You can niche down by expertise or niche down by target audience, by market, or do both at the same time.
Yeah. And in this case, I think the gal, she did both, because she was a physical therapist who started her own practice online, and then she created processes and SOPs and basically built out a course based on how she made her business. So now she's kind of playing both sides of it, which is just super smart.
Very smart, really
It's
smart.
um okay, awesome. Jesmine, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you would like to touch on, or
I would say, just in closing, I would encourage especially early stage entrepreneurs, because those are the ones that I have a heart for. I love to see small ideas become world changing ideas. I love to see small efforts expand, have this exponential growth. So I would advise or encourage any early stage startup leader to do their business differently, especially in today's world. Like, especially if you are, for example, resource constrained, because I come from Africa and I'm a woman and I'm a person of color. All of these features, all of these attributes really puts me at a disadvantage when it comes to access to funding, for example, because I work with startups and scale-ups. You need funding, you need support. So if you fit into any of this category or criteria that I highlighted, you have to do your business differently, meaning you have to find ways to reduce your cost, optimize your processes, optimize your talent. When people come to you, you can't just treat them however. You need to find a way to get the talent who come to you to make the most of their time with you. Because nobody builds a sustainable business by just having people come and go, come and walk out, come and walk out. So in closing, I would say if you're building an early stage business, make sure that you find the support to help you reduce your cost, reduce stress, reduce overwhelm, so you can flourish, you can fulfill your potential, you can feel fulfilled at the end of the day, while you build a thriving business. Because we know that these times call for that. These times call for founders and CEOs and leaders who are flourishing and who are helping their team members flourish, and who are also taking into account social innovation, social courses, making sure that their business impacts people, planet, and profit sustainably. So if you need help with that, Micheal can help you get connected to me so that we can help you ensure that.
yeah, you got to be creative. You got to be creative, no matter who you are. And I will throw this out there. I can't speak to Canada, but I know in the United States there are federal and state programs for female entrepreneurs, for minority entrepreneurs, and what's another one I know, and for military entrepreneurs. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones, right? So get creative with it, and whatever use whatever you've got to your advantage, however you can.
Sure.
I know a good friend of mine went into business with his wife, and he gave his wife 51% of the company so that they could apply for all of those government grants. And they got all of this free money because the wife was the majority owner, and that's it. It's super smart. Why not do that?
Many men are doing that now. Many men are coming behind their wives and their sisters and mothers to help them, get access, because the world is opening up. We're talking about shared prosperity, right? So we have people saying, hey, we want to be inclusive, we want to be diverse. So there's opportunity out there, but we still have limited access. But the world is evolving, and hopefully one day there will be equality.
Yeah. There's steps going in the right direction, I hope.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you.
Awesome. Jesmine, you also have a business optimization framework that you would like to share with our listeners and viewers. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you so much, Micheal, for that. So the business optimization framework is what we use to help, especially early stage businesses, but any business in general, any business who wants to make the most of their decision making. We help them roadmap every action. When you come to the business landscape, you see that, especially as an early stage entrepreneur, you're told to do about 101 things that are so disconnected. There's no coordination. Like, do this and do that, talk, go pitch, go look for someone on a team, go hire. There's just too many things. So the roadmap helps us guide our clients in every action. So there's what we call the sequential actions that must be taken in a business. So there's some things that must come before the other. Then there are actions that need to be taken simultaneously. So they're like when you're running a business, when you've done your business modeling, maybe you're in at the phase where you're now marketing, you're actively engaging in digital marketing campaigns and all of that, you need to also be looking at your business model. You need to be innovating the model, just in case you enter the market and you realize, oh, we wanted to serve a B2C client, but we have distribution mechanism issues. You're going to go back to your business model. You're going to go back to your go-to-market approach. Right. So there are things, it gets complex. I know there are things that need to be done simultaneously, and some things that would also require a sequential approach to decision making. So the framework has 4 pillars. Number 1 is leadership, very important. Number 2 is the structure of the business. This is where your business modeling comes in, so that your business has a solid foundation to grow on. You know, Michael, what I often say to entrepreneurs is, what took you to success? So maybe you launched your business and you now have customers, you're making sales, there's money coming in. That is success. What took you there will not take you to scale. In order to scale, where your revenue is accelerated at a higher pace than your costs, where your cost is accelerating but not as high as your revenue, what's going to take you to scale is different. But when you get to scale, some people they've scaled and they relaxed, and you see that some businesses don't make it past scale. You also need to get to sustainability, where we're talking about the popular tech companies of the world. That's where they got to, where they've expanded, they're so large, they're too big to fail. So in order to get there, there are different approaches to get there. So we use these 4 pillars to guide our clients, so that once they get the leadership right, the structure is right, operations is running smoothly, then growth becomes organic and exponential.
Awesome. I just signed up for it, so I'm looking at it right now.
Really? Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell me what you can email me and tell me what you think about what you're looking at.
I will. Yeah, I think I might. It's what do we got? 5 pages. And there's quite a bit of text, so I've got some reading to do first. But I'll shoot you an email.
I'd appreciate that.
Awesome, Jesmine. This has been fantastic. Actually, one quick question before we go. What is PeakPerfly? Is there a story behind the name? I'm just to satisfy my own curiosity.
That's a good question. That there's a story behind the name, but I was thinking that it would be easily interpreted. So PeakPerfly is a coinage of 2 words, which is peak performing. The hope is that someday it will become a verb. It would be considered a verb. You know how we say Uber and Zoom as verbs now?
Yeah.
That's the goal. When you say I am PeakPerfly, what you're essentially saying is I am peak performing.
I love it. I'll make sure that gets into the Urban Dictionary.
Oh, that would be absolutely great. I'd appreciate that a whole lot.
Awesome. Jesmine Onyeukwu, thank you so much for joining us on the Remarkable Coach podcast. Guys, check out Jesmine's stuff. It's peakperfly.com. That's peakperfly.com. We'll have links to her website, as well as to the business optimization framework. We'll have links to that on the show notes page on our website, boxer.agency. Jesmine, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Michael, for having me. I totally enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you to our listeners and viewers. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers.